how you fit on the motorcycle. You'll review it from that standpoint. You have that reference point. So tomorrow if I come here and I say that the Ducati is a horrible bike, if Ducati will not give me a license. But if I say the Ducati is a horrible bike, that's my opinion about it, right? Someone else might really love it.
But still, people follow you, right?
People do follow me, yeah.
Then don't you think they'll go on with your words?
They would, but I always have that disclaimer saying, go ahead and review it yourself.
That's like playing the safe game.
No.
Do you feel like that is justifiable, like from your opinion?
I mean, it's not really playing safe because I keep telling people that I have this as a reference point. This is what I think about the bike. I have that as my reference point. This is what I think about a bike. And I remember the best advice anyone gave me about reviewing motorcycles was given me by a gentleman named Sagar Shallikar, some of you might know him. He told me that the more motorcycles you get to ride, the more you understand what the best in a certain category can be. So if I'm talking about braking, if I say the Multisara has the best brakes, then every motorcycle that I review after that, I can't keep personally thinking, yeah, this has the best brakes, this has the best brakes, this has the best, because I know what the best brakes feel like. So the more opportunities you get to ride better motorcycles, the easier it becomes for you to then review because you have a reference point and you can say, okay, this could be better because you now know what the experience was like on a bike like the Multisara V4. So I think, yeah.
Coming to the influencers, okay, do you feel influencers or the content creators these days, all they care about is the amount of reach they have, or are they really putting in effort to make the content worth it?
It's a double-edged sword, because you can make great content which no one views, right? Or you can make content which you want to get out frequently and everybody views. So it's up to you where you want to strike that balance. There's a lot of times that I also would probably put a lot of effort into my videos. Like this last Bad Mumbai Driver series 45 which I released, I didn't expect it to do that well, right? But it crossed, I think, 35k views within a day or something, I think. And I was shocked that it went that far. But then there were other videos where I've taken a lot of time to edit, decide what music to add. I spent like a few days thinking, okay, maybe this music doesn't go with the scene, I'll use another sound instead. And it hardly got any views. So I think the way a video is received is what pushes content creators to do what they eventually end up doing. And your conscience also obviously will play a big part in that because you need to understand that whenever you put out content on the internet, it is there. Even if you delete it tomorrow, someone must have downloaded it, someone say, hey, I got you for what you said previously. So yeah, I think content creators come in with probably the best intentions. Not all of them obviously, but most of them will come in with the best intentions. But the way the whole algorithm is set up and the way your views and everything get generated eventually may push people to do something which they otherwise, if everything worked well, may not have. And I think that's where that
then more, okay, let's be even a little bit blunt out here.
Yeah.
You have seen, when it comes to motorcycling, people use motorcycle as a prop, as we spoke earlier about lifestyle influencers and whatever. But we all know that there are influencers who feel or who think, or opinions also regarding that, wherein nudity is become the main prop in achieving their content to go on heights, go on motorcycles. Do you agree with that statement?
Nudity, I mean,
yeah, for example, a rider, okay, wherein he or she feels exposing, let it be, it's 2025, right? Everything is up for the game. So, wherein they feel like, okay, exposing yourself, you have a good physique, you expose yourself on a motorcycle, and yes, that content can go viral. Do you agree with that?
Do you think that's ethical or not?
Yeah.
Firstly, can you give me a list of these channels for research purposes? Secondly, I don't, it comes back to the same thing about the kind of content you watch and what you take away from it, right?
Here it's purely not about any information.
I'm not buying a decision about it.
Yeah, it's purely about, the reach they are looking into, the fame.
So,
is it the right path that they are
and
using?
I talk about motorcycle specific people who create motorcycle content. See, the thing is, whether we like it or not, sex sells, right? And it's not a recent thing. It's been there for ages, since the invention of sex being sold. But what are you really gaining from watching a video? So a few 30 seconds worth of excitement, if that's what it is. But after that, are you really taking away anything from it? And even if you're talking about whether it's right or not, we are not the moral police for these things. Again, like I said, things that you put out on the internet stay on the internet for a while. Right? So what is your life really going to be after you put out content like this? So I think as a content creator, you have to probably introspect and think about these things yourself. As a viewer, you have to think, what am I doing with my life if I'm watching such videos?
Do you even think, like, people who watches a video, something related to that, do you even think, they'll have that feeling, okay, what am I even doing with life? Do you even think for a fraction of a second that would even strike them? They'll look into it, they might roll over it, again slide it up, right? That's all.
But I mean, that's one thing. It's a small drop in the ocean of content that's available out there. Is it?
But again, see, it all starts from one person, right? One person, I mean, somebody watches this one person, then tries to replicate just because seeing the views and fame, that person is getting over it.
Yeah.
And then, again another two more person watches it, again, it keeps carrying on. So that drop of water in the ocean actually booms out like fire in the automotive
Ripple effect you're saying. But to that point, someone who gets fame out of this, what are their options of growing from? I mean, you have to then resort to doing more and more stuff, or it gets a little more and more extreme for you to sustain that kind of viewership, right? I don't think OnlyFans is something that's hit off here in India, but I'm guessing that's your eventual route. And if your audience is not happy with seeing the same kind of thing
But again, when we talk about brands, all their focus is about business. Do you agree?
And views, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So the moment these people see, okay, this person out here is having good amount of reach,
Yeah,
don't you think brands will again start approaching them rather than approaching people like you all who actually knows about motorcycles?
But I think brands are not.
Maybe, yeah, you might take out a t-shirt and the video might go like this.
I reveal my face in my
Oggy reveal.
Yeah, when I reveal my face in my subscriber count stop growing that rapidly, so I don't think I'm going to take off my shirt anymore.
That is not always on everybody's side,
Yeah. But see, I think brands also understand how much they can get out of these people as well if they're inviting them for these events. There'll be a certain point where I think they get a backlash from if not the audience, someone who's part of their marketing team or someone higher up that doesn't want this kind of content to be associated with the brand itself. Again, I'm very curious to understand if there's a specific person to talk about for research purposes.
I really don't want to take the names
No, you
again
won't take
because
the name.
we have already had an issue over it.
You won't take the name right now. Later. But yeah, I think eventually the brand will get what they need out of this person and then they'll stop associating with them. And I don't think it's that much of an impact to the actual biking community because we wouldn't care too much about it. The influence would be with people who are making bad buying decisions or bad viewing decisions.
I mean, don't you think, this has to be stopped?
It has to be stopped. Like, again, that's a moral decision, right? It's not yours and my decision to make because it's a brand and what kind of direction they want to take their
Right,
market.
like, we had a conversation on this earlier. I clearly told you, right? In our country, any brand supporting any athlete let it be, influencer let it be, all that they care about is, what are you guys going to bring on their table?
Yeah.
It's business, purely business. And when they know they can get business, they will buy it.
I mean, if you're talking from that standpoint, as a brand, then it probably makes sense to just associate with these people maybe for once, and then when you see the kind of reach you get out of it, that's it. Because you're definitely going to get backlash if you're doing this kind of thing on a consistent basis. Your audience or potential buyers will not take your brand seriously because you're associating with such people. You start to lose out as a brand if you. We will always have opportunities to have. See, if I don't get invited, for example, if I don't get invited for the launch event of a motorcycle, I'm not sitting at home punching the air thinking, why are you not inviting me? I'm sitting at home thinking, okay, fine, if I'm not being invited by this, and if my audience still wants me to review this motorcycle, what can I do to get a motorcycle like this to review or share? What kind of information can I share with my audience to be able to give them the information that they need? If they're not inviting me, I can't really do much about it. Right? That's the brand's call at the end. It's always been the brand's call. I've also, to that point, I also know stories where journalists have put out videos where they've not said such good things about a motorcycle from a particular brand, and because of that they've not been invited for future launch events as well. And that's a horrible place to be, because then your journalistic abilities are then questioned, because what are you doing then? Are you just going to consistently bootleg brands for inviting you for these experiences? And that also doesn't make sense. Defeats the purpose of putting out a review to begin with. So there's always two sides of it.
I know one of the most hot topics. What's the whole scene of betting apps? How was their approach to you? Did they approach you?
I still have quite a few emails.
Yeah. And why did you oppose it? I mean, look, we know betting apps is not good, but in the same place, a person who smokes, clearly it is written on the box smoking this, but yet he smokes. There are ads that come out, yes, disclaimers that come out, but nobody stops it or opposes it. So what made you oppose betting apps? Why do you feel like? Okay, before all that, how many betting apps have approached you?
I don't know, because there's multiple emails sitting in my inbox. So the moment I read it and I see it has anything to do with any kind of betting site or anything, I just ignore it. So I really don't know.
What is their offer? I mean, how much do they offer if you don't mind?
They don't quote the money upfront. They just say we would like to listen to our betting app, we'd like to have a conversation. I don't respond, so I don't know how much they're going to give. I've heard some ridiculous amounts being offered to other people. I don't know how far that's true. I don't know whether it's true or not, so I really can't comment. But yeah, there's multiple emails that I think we all get, all content creators get it. Some of us take it, some of us don't.
What made you oppose it?
I've seen lives being ruined over addictions over the years. So, one of my friends, his father and his mother started a organization which helps, which is basically a drug rehab center for people who are addicted to drugs and narcotics and others. And I've seen how that ruins life, because I know friends who I was with, and this is not purely gambling, I'm maybe digressing a little bit, but in the same scope of things. There have been people who I've seen growing up who had a lot of potential in society, and then they got into addictions, gambling also being an addiction. They got into different addictions, they practically ruined their lives post that. Some of them were able to turn things around and make something of themselves. Some of them unfortunately were not. If you're someone who's promoting betting or any sort of substance that is addictive, I think you have to really look yourself in the mirror every day and ask yourself whether it's worth doing it. Maybe you're getting rich out of it, but what are you really doing to society? And your audience also, and I'm not saying your audience drives all of your content, but I think your audience also needs to then call you out for your behavior. If they are not, then I think then they deserve you for the kind of content that you're putting out, right? I declined it purely because I didn't want to ruin lives. I don't think I have. It will be very heavy on my conscience if I were to. And even otherwise, I think even YouTube has part of the partner policy that there are certain sites which you are not supposed to, or certain behaviors that you are not supposed to exhibit on their platform. I'm a person who reads a lot through any sort of contract or whatever, so I read through most of the copyright, most of the partnership guidelines when it started off back in the day, and I saw that certain behaviors were unacceptable, betting being one of them, promoting betting apps. And I think there's quite a few YouTube channels who were taken out as well because they were promoting betting apps very openly. Another thing that YouTube was very against was these bots generating views for you as well. I know people who still used it and got away with it. I know some people who didn't use it and unfortunately got their channels taken out. So I don't know what the logic is behind how YouTube decides all of this. But yeah, betting apps for me has never been something I want to promote. I don't think I'll ever be that desperate to have a betting app on my list. And whenever I see that, it's a little irritating to see that people are willing to sell. I think nudity is still acceptable. I don't think betting apps are. It's very wrong. Nudity only putting yourself out there and harming your own life. With betting apps are ruining an entire family, probably a generation after that as well. How this kind of happen.
Okay, so coming back to motorcycles, when you talk about awareness on the road, what do you think each person should keep in their mind before stepping out on a motorcycle in the cities?
I go out with the assumption that everyone's out to kill me, and that takes me from point A to point B very easily. One thing that I say you should always keep in mind is that no matter what happens on the road, if you're going to take a risk, and it can be something as simple as overtaking another vehicle, but not being 100% sure whether this person's going to move in your lane or not. if you're going to be delayed by a couple of seconds, how much is that really going to impact your life? And I posted a story about this as well, this small patch that I have of a dog on my stories earlier today on Instagram. I always remember who I'm going back home to, and who I'm surrounded by, who actually need me in their life or would find value in me being around. And as crazy as it may sound, this is something I actually do, but the moment I'm looking to maybe do even a 70-30 maneuver to overtake, I'll hold back and I'll let whatever unfold in front of me, and then when it's safer to pass by, if it's 100% safe, that's when I take that, when I take that move. I think we should always remember that motorcycling is sort of a blessing that we get to experience. I think there's a lot of people who want to buy motorcycles, their families don't allow them to. You guys must have spoken to quite a few people whose parents have not allowed them to buy motorcycles, who have had their uncles or aunts or whoever meet with some accident because of that. You can't get a bike because it's generation apparently meeting that. But we have to count it as a blessing that we get to experience this every day, and but with the same in the same breath, we have to realize that we have to be responsible so that we can ride for another day after that. Right? So keep a calm mind. Enjoy yourself, but not to the extent that you're risking your life to have a thrill with motorcycling. There's a lot more ways you can enjoy a motorcycle out on a racetrack, out on the dirt, if you want to really push your limits. Doing that in city traffic, especially in Bangalore, I don't know if that's an option, but doing that in city traffic, I don't think that's a best. Oh, sorry.
Okay, so what are your views on Indian riding gears and the improvements they have been having in the recent years? Because back 5 years down the lane, riding gears were still something that people didn't know about, but now they have improved a lot. What are your views on it?
I think we've come a long way since the brands that were offered back in the day. When I went to buy my first riding jacket, I bought this brand called RJ's. I don't know if it still exists. It's an Australian brand which was being sold in somewhere in town in Mumbai. I bought it for like 7,000, I think. I can't remember what the price was. It had level 1 armors and a foam back protector, because that's how the Europeans used to do it back in the day. I didn't know too much about riding gear back then. I knew that I had to wear something to protect myself in case I fell. I bought the jacket. That was the only one known to me at the time. If I look at the transition from then to now, and since I've been around, I've been fortunate enough to see some European brands come in India. I've owned an Alpine Stars jacket. I've owned multiple Rhinox jackets, a Clover jacket as well. So I've seen this whole evolution of how riding jackets has been. One of the brands that I've been heavily associated with since the start has been Rhinox, and I was telling someone earlier today as well, the only reason I've been associated with them for that long, and while other brands have approached me, have offered to pay me for stuff as well, I declined and stepped with Rhinox, primarily because I have trust in the kind of craftsmanship and detail they have in their riding gear. The jacket that I had maybe 5 or 6 years ago from Rhinox, and if I were to compare that with the jacket I rode with now, the Advento Pro, is miles ahead. And they don't need to do that. Rhinox, honestly, the way they've captured the market, at least when it comes to riding gear, they really don't need to do that. But the fact that they keep on bringing up new and more innovative products every year, I think speaks volumes for their commitment towards safety and keep you and me safe as well. Again, I can't remember what the actual name is for, but they have that insurance policy on it. What's it called? Wingman. Yeah. That again is a first as well. So I think there's a lot of research being done, not just by Rhinox, by Viaterra also, and a few other Indian brands as well. And I think that it's pushed us all in the right direction. There's more awareness about riding gear. There's better options available, and I think we're pretty close to the kind of options available in the European and US markets as well. So I think we've really come a long way since where we were. Before there were no rain liners and winter liners and all of that offered with the jackets on, but now there's a whole modular system available in that, which is really nice.
Yeah, before you review a motorcycle or a riding gear, what are the things that you look into?
So I as much as possible, more often than not, since most of these launch events happen on weekdays, I have to decline the invites for the launch to attend the launch events. What happens is then the motorcycle then gets offered to me later on in my hometown. So it gives me the time to then look at the owner's manual and understand what exactly is being offered with it, what kind of tweaks can be made to it, and so on and so forth. So I make sure that I read as much of the owner's manual as possible. The V4S being an exception, I had a 450-page owner's manual. I read about 300 odd pages, and I said, let me just pick the important stuff which I
What do
need.
you enjoy, bro, reading those manuals? I don't know, how many of you guys read the owner's manual out there? Oh, shit. Anyways.
I think there's a lot of useful information in there as well. But yeah, I make sure I read the owner's manual. I play around a lot with the suspension because I think what they give you is the default setting. I'm not, I think I'm not their default rider size. More often than not, I have to change the suspension settings around a little bit. At least the preload I change around a little bit. And then yeah, I think I ride it to work and back for a couple of days just to see how it works in the city, and then I take it for a weekend ride to see how it behaves on the highway. And that's when I put my review together. But I think of it more from the perspective of someone who's looking to buy this motorcycle, and that's why at the end of my reviews I say, who would I recommend this motorcycle to? And I list out who do I think this would be a match for. Like, that's how I do.
So what are the drawbacks that Indian motorcycling culture is facing right now, and how do you think that it can be sorted out?
I feel there's two types of audiences who are watching all the content motorcycle related. One are watching these videos like news channels to get specifications, to know what the latest launches are, so that in their lunchroom conversations they can show people that they know a lot about motorcycles. That's one side. The second is people who are actually inquisitive about this and they want to know more about the motorcycle, or they are potential buyers for these motorcycles. It's one of the motorcycles they're considering. So what has happened? Yeah, what has happened is that the content that gets created now has to cater to both people. And some of them, there's a third category which are just looking at this for thrills. That's the dangerous side, because then you're pushing content creators to continue doing these 200 plus kilometers an hour videos or something like that. I think that's the bad side of it. If you have people who are showing you the extreme side of motorcycling, which is not what you and I would do on a regular basis with a motorcycle, it makes no sense. I remember there was this one YouTuber, I think he was a journalist turned to YouTuber, who used to only ride down this one road at 200 kilometers an hour, and just kept on saying every bike is great because it could do that speed. He's still relevant. I'm surprised he's still relevant he or she is still relevant in the motorcycle scene right now. But I can't wrap my head around why. And I remember seeing him or her at a racetrack event once. I'm not the fastest person on the racetrack, but this guy or girl was nowhere close to being even competitive otherwise. And it made me wonder, what is this guy's contribution? Just riding down it straight at 200 and saying every bike is good, right? So I think if we encourage, we as audiences encourage that kind of behavior, then you're going to push creators to do that. You're going to make these people famous. The moment you see, like on Reels as well, the moment I see something stupid like this being suggested to me, I directly move on to the next video to let the algorithm know that this is not something that I should be watching. So I try to clean out my feed every now and then. But I think that's what's wrong with the biking culture right now, is that influencers who don't actually ride are getting pushed down our throats very frequently, and influencers who don't really know too much about motorcycles are also becoming famous because they just read out the spec sheets and make it sound like it's the next best thing. So what are we really? I mean, you can Google information about it and get the same information from this video. And I think
You had a question, no?
Hey, someone had a question in the back before we went for a break. Yeah, you've been waiting. Go ahead, they're waiting. Can we get this question first and then we'll take it?
Sorry. Happy to see you in person.
Happy to be here.
Thank you so much for coming. I don't have much of it. I just wanted to check with you that are you still in touch with Everyday India?
On and off. I know he was with, he joined Autocar very briefly. He then moved to, I think, what's it called? What Daniel works for. I can't get the name of that. moto-vloggers, sorry, yeah, thank you. moto-vloggers. After that, I think he moved some tech channel on Instagram, and then I don't know after that where he's gone. But I know I follow him on Instagram. He uploads stories every now and then of his cars and stuff like that. So I know that he's doing well. I know that he's doing well. But I've not spoken to him and recently.
Thank you. And just one question. What would you suggest to be the first accessories if you have to put in your bike? I own an Adventure 390. So what would be that?
It comes on the usage, right? Because I'll speak for my usage, what I use my motorcycle for. And it might not have been the first thing that I put on my bike, but I realized how important it was once I put it. And going forward, if I buy a similar motorcycle, that's the first thing I put. Is the tail wrap on the bike. For me, what works well is when I'm commuting to work and back, if I'm carrying a backpack, especially the backpacks that I have which can accommodate a laptop. I have a Kriega R20 which looks something similar to one of those on the right hand side over there. If you see the locking system, it has like a U-shaped strap on each side of it. Now in Mumbai, see when you reach work and you have like these kind of sweat patches over here, it looks a little awkward when you reach step into a meeting room. Then you're wondering why is this guy sweating like that? What did he wear? But what I decided to do was to have some sort of luggage system where I don't have to wear a backpack. A, it takes a lot of weight off my back when I'm riding, and B, I know that it's secured somewhere there. So I currently use a Carbonaro Modpack Pro, I think is the model, that hard top kind of part with soft luggage at the bottom. It's waterproof also, fits my laptop, fits a spare pair of shoes, my gloves, phone, wallet, all of that easily into that. So I use that on the tail bag. So to commute from work and back becomes very easy for me. I just strap that onto the back of the bike, go and come. And that works with most motorcycles as well, so it's a very easy strapping system. So yeah, so the tail rack would probably be the first thing I would do personally. But something that I've not put on the Adventure 390 but I found really useful on the RC 390 if you have a fully fair motorcycle are tank grips. So it really changes the way you interact with the bike a lot if you have like something to hold on to which grips the tank very well. It'll ruin the inner part of your pants after some time, but it's a very nice accessory.
Thank you so much.
Just want to check if you are having any further videos on moto-vlog for a course. That stopped.
So what happened with that was the second series was supposed to be about this school in Goa. It was a charity-run school where underprivileged kids were being taught, I think it was primary education over there. The people in the school in Goa were fine with it. We recorded all of our content, but then the team in the UK reached out to us saying this is not something that we want to do. And when I give you the explanation, you'll understand why. Similar to my Bad with My Driver series, they said that if these kids are able to uplift themselves from where they are right now and become something greater than become they are in the future, we wouldn't want these videos to be part of their life story later on. So they scrapped the idea. I've not had time to upload videos on my regular channel, so moto-vlog for the person have to come back. I hope to be able to build consistency on the main channel, and I'll be more than happy to do that. Something that I really like doing in the first series. Yeah, for now, I don't have any plans at the moment.
My name is Santosh, and I've been following you since 2015.
Okay, thank you.
And I really appreciate your content. And my question is around the video that that was a review video of your Tiger line.
Of my what, sorry? The Tiger.
Yeah, Tiger 900. So you're reviewing that video.
Yeah.
I think you're riding to Goa at that time, if I remember. So, and the first thing I want to tell you is I was really impressed with that video, and the way you review the motorcycle while you're riding. A lot of other actually journalists, moto-vloggers, they stand around going around the motorcycle and they speak about the motorcycle. So your style is different. That was really interesting.
Thank you.
My main question is why don't you actually do such videos when you can do while you are riding and while you can review while you are riding? Why can't you kind of take to a next level?
When you say next level, what exactly do you mean?
Yeah. No, like the more of review videos in kind of more professional setup or whatever. What I'm telling you is already impressive. Why don't you take it to the next level?
Firstly, thank you for the compliment. If I need to take my production level up, I need to have a team of people who can help me do that. I currently don't have a team. The channel has just been me doing this since the start. There have been a few videos in between where I've collaborated with brands. They've shot the video and then they've edited it, and I've just had to finally say, okay, fine, I'm okay with this style of it being edited, which are a little higher production high production reviews. But for the most part, it'll just be me with a motorcycle, and then it becomes hard to film this. And I'll tell you why. For example, even the Ducati which I'm riding now to Bangalore and going back with, my ride till here I didn't review the bike. I just maybe mentioned a few features of it which are helping me along the way. On the way back is when I put together the actual review in a similar style like I did the Tiger 900. Now the challenge with that is, if I want to take maybe a perspective of someone else standing and recording me while I'm listening. Since I'm doing this alone, I have to have a tripod with a camera somewhere over there. If I'm doing this all on if I'm doing the journey all on my own on the way back, that means that I have to stop somewhere in the middle, find a place where it's safe for me to mount a camera without anyone who's parked my car just come and grab it and go away, and be able to make sure that there's enough silence around for me to be able to be heard. Granted, I have a Bluetooth mic which I can connect and record the audio, but the quality of production, like you were saying, has to be that much better to be able to do something like that. But with that comes additional people that are required, with that comes additional cost, with that comes additional risk as well, because now I'm not traveling on my own, I have a crew traveling with me as well. And then it becomes more of what the journalists are doing at the end of the day, right? Which are, what you're saying is standing off the motorcycle and reviewing the bike. And again, while we talk about journalists standing off the bike and reviewing it, I have always been humbled by journalists at any competitive event. These guys are very good riders. Okay? So they've had the experience of riding motorcycles, because at launch events what used to happen, and that's why the whole embargo thing came into place, is what used to happen is the first person to put out content about a new bike is the one who will get the most views, right? So if the motorcycle gets launched right now, I put out the video 10 seconds, everyone's waiting to hear about it, everyone will watch my video first. So not because of the production level, nothing else, but because mine is the first search that comes up. I'm the first person to put out the video. Journalists back then had to be that good, and even now they're that good, that they will ride a motorcycle for a certain amount of time on different terrain and be able to tell you what's good or what's bad about it. So a lot of time I also speak with some of these journalists after the media ride. You can ask them what is their take on it, just to see whether I'm somewhere close to what they think about the bike. And it's not so that I can steal their points and put that in my video, it's just so that to gauge whether I'm as good a reviewer as they possibly are, and I'm somewhere close to where the good reviewers are. I'll ask obviously the guys who I look up to for their opinion. The standing off the video or off the bike videos aren't bad to me. I think it gives you a chance to think about what you want to say and put that out. Because what you won't see in my videos is another 20 minutes of me just talking about the bike, but I don't think that really adds value to the video.
It really does. That's what I'm actually
No, I'm saying there's some stuff that
in this particular video,
yeah.
just if you're sitting on the motorcycle riding and you're sitting on the style side,
Yep.
what's good, what's not good, all those things, without me actually looking at the motorcycle as whole, and your actually what's itself actually gave me so much of visualization, so much idea about the motorcycle. It's actually that good. So it's not taken to the next level.
Yeah, no, I think I'll probably try and have a mix of both on and off the bike shots, if people consider that as being a higher level production video. But I guess I'm at a stage where I have to try different things out and see how they are received by the audience, and then I can take my production to the next level. Because I constantly ask for feedback at the end of my video, right? I say if there's something that you didn't like about the video, let me know in the comments. People are ruthless on YouTube. So even on the back of my driver's seat, I think people say that ding sounds a little too loud, the volume on that is a little too loud. That's the feedback I got from the last video. So I'm now going to start reducing the volume on that video. So it's based on the feedback that I get from audience, and thank you for sharing this. It's based on the feedback that I get, I can make adjustments to how it is. So if there's something that you can help me with, let me know what to get the function.
And I have one more question. What is your microphone setup?
Oh, on my helmet. I've currently got a DJI Osmo Action 5 Pro that I'm using as my main camera. I ditched the GoPro Hero 7 because it had too many bugs. Kept on hanging, a lot of my footage was going to waste. And another reason being that GoPro has an additional microphone adapter. It's a really heavy, it's a really heavy unit that adds a lot more weight to the overall mounting system. The Osmo has a very small tube that just clicks into that. You can plug a 3.5mm jack. Makes it very simple. Yeah, it makes it very simple to vlog. So that I have an external microphone that's connected to that, and then that goes through the cheek pads and then sits right just below the wind deflector above my nose. So then my mouth isn't blowing air into the microphone. Maybe it's microphones above me or something. So the audio. Oh, it's some very basic microphone I got, I'm surprised it lasted this long. I got it about 5 or 6 years ago, I think. And 199 rupees or something like that. But it works better than a Rode video micro that I tried to use.
Hi, this is Oggy. Hello.
Yeah.
So, I had not many questions, but main 3 questions I want to ask you. Like, you're usually calm and soft-spoken person, and not like loud like other YouTubers or influencers. But why are your bike names so like aggressive, like rage, riot?
So Rage, I think I named it Rage because one of my favorite bands is Rage Against the Machine. So I think I named it after that. The first bike I named was the R15. I called it Red Torpedo because of Guy Martin, who used to ride the Iron Man TV. I think is Red Torpedo. Riot now, I know it sounds violent, but Riot just because it's a real right to ride. So I named that. It's not that I'm an aggressive person.
Okay, and why not many outdoor rides or long rides or now?
Because I've not had the chance. So my work is hectic, so I'm busy throughout the week. Unfortunately, weekends also sometimes get involved in work, so I'm not able to. And like someone asked me, I'd have to find that balance between my personal life, football, YouTube, and work. So I think most of my time has been spent taking care of all of that, which is why I couldn't plan on it. And that's another reason I'm a big shout out to 60 Ironman, because when they reached out to me, my main concern whenever I have to do meetups like this in other cities is how do I take care of the logistics of everything? Where do I do it? Is it a nice place? Would there be refreshments? Would you guys be treated well or not? Are these the right people to associate myself with and all of that? The moment 60 Ironman got in touch with me, I think it was a very easy decision. I said yes on that very same call because I knew they had the space to do this. I knew it happened before because I know a few other content creators have come here when the session was really engaging. And I knew that all I needed to do was just to show up. Everything else was taken care of. So that made my life a lot easier. So I do longer rides so that I can interact with you guys. I think I've reached a stage where I have some following in multiple locations at least. So if I'm doing a long ride, I do a long ride so I can meet people. If you've seen my videos have not been about going to a place and going to the whatever significant famous locations around the area. That doesn't interest me at all. I go there, I meet people, I come back. And that's it. This is the perfect example. I rode here last night. I'm riding here tomorrow morning. I'm taking this to the meetup.
Final question, Doctor. How was the experience of being a jewelry member and recently you had shared? And is there any, as trying slightly to put it through, is there any plan for fully becoming a model? That's very much nothing to do it throughout the session.
We wish to
actually have a model journey like you. So any plans for that? And how was the experience being a jewelry?
I think a lot of people say India's first moto-vlogger to do this. I don't want to say I'm the first moto-vlogger to be on a jury. I think there's been a few others also. I think Kalyani also was part of the jury for Autocar, and this was one of the other auto magazines. The fact that I got invited is something that surprised me because I never expected Car and Bike to reach out to me. I know they've been doing this for years now, and this was the first time I've been invited for it. It was a great experience. It not only got me to to experience the racetrack once again, but it got me to a chance to ride multiple motorcycles back to back on the racetrack, which is an experience I don't think I'll ever get in life. I think it will come every now and then if it ever does come again. Would I move to auto journalism? I think someone had offered me a job once in one of the publications, but I mean, at the time, my salary, they couldn't match. We discussed that. And I didn't go that far in the discussion. Just that initially called me and they spoke about, he said, okay, how much you making? I said, how much I'm making? He said, oh, I don't get paid that much. I can't bring a So I said, yeah, that's cool. But what I would like to do is, and I think PowerDiff have done this a few times as well, where they invite content creators to collab with them for their reviews as well. I think that I'll be more than open to do. Just like I did the car and bike awards, I think that I'll be more than happy to do. Because while I wouldn't want to do auto journalism full time, it's a very hectic job. I think some people only get to be at home for 7 days in a month. They're constantly flying for all of these launches throughout. They really don't get any rest time. I wouldn't want that to happen to myself. So I'd rather do my 9 to 5 where I know I'm getting my rest at the end of the week. And I can put out content when I come to put out content. So it makes it easy for me.
I have a last question for you. What is the most stupidest thing that people do on motorcycle that you have noticed?
Oh, that's easy. That's the phone thing, right? They remove their phone and they start looking at their phone while riding. I don't know how people can concentrate, man. I can barely concentrate while I'm riding it, except for even ride and do that. And I've seen a lot of very close incidents happen because of people being distracted by their phone. It's a very horrible thing to do. I hope less people do that.
Basic things that you carry before you start a ride.
See, I think I look at the weather before I head out for the ride to figure out what additional gear I need to be carrying. I think mainly what I'm worried about is that when it's going to be too hot, too cold, whatever. I look at the type of gear I'm wearing. But since I'm also a content creator and I now need to figure out what kind of camera equipment, what kind of mounts and stuff I'm carrying as well. So I look at all of that as well. At the end of the day, I end up overpacking, like you have seen in my stories and otherwise. But yeah, I think gear and my riding gear and my camera gear is what I look at before the ride. Safety will always be something that you do 50-50, but you can only look out for yourself when you ride the boat.
Okay, it's already 10:34. We usually have time until 10 we keep up the event. How about we come to the quick end of the session? It's called the rapid fire round. So you won't have time to think about it. You'll have to be quick in answering. So let's start with the session. So first question: bikes or cars?
Bikes.
EV or combustion?
Combustion.
Reviewing a motorcycle or riding them?
Riding.
YouTube or Instagram?
YouTube.
A girl who rides or a girl who cooks?
Both.
No, you can choose anyone. Make sure your
Cooks.
girlfriend is not watching this.
Cooks, because I prefer to have a pillion so that I can take her around where I with me. That's the safe answer to watching.
Okay. One stupid thing that you often see riders doing on road.
Not wearing helmets.
One influencer you look up to or inspires you.
Baron Von Crumble.
One motorcycle that you would always pull out for any rides.
I mean, any motorcycle from what I know is only one option.
I mean, any motorcycle.
Any motorcycle. No, I'd still take my adventure team and
One person from your phone call list whom you would call in for any rides.
Ankit. Ankit is always up for a ride.
Group rides or solo rides?
Solo.
Naked sport or fire motorcycle?
Sorry, what?
Naked sports
Oh,
or the fire?
Hard says fair, it's a fair motorcycle.
One riding gear brand that you would always pick.
Dinos.
Off-roading or circuit racing?
I'm horrible at off-road, so I'll say circuit racing.
Hard luggage system or soft luggage system?
Soft.
IBW or motovloggers?
Wonder if I get my invitation next year. No, IBW. I've gone for all of the IBW. So IBW.
Okay. Highways or mountains?
Highways.
Ride with your action camera or without?
With something interesting on the circuit.
MotoGP or F1?
MotoGP.
Circuit racing? Okay, I asked you. Mark Marquez or Valentino Rossi?
Rossi.
Isle of Man TT or MotoGP?
MotoGP.
Riding culture in Bangalore or riding culture in Mumbai?
Oh, I think the culture over here is really brilliant. I think, at least what I've seen at 60 Ironman and what you guys have managed to build over here is really good. So riding culture in Bangalore,
Biking or football?
football.
Aww, that was, look at those heads going down. Okay, so that was today's session. I hope you liked it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming in. It was a honor having you two, Oggy. So, hoping to see you all on Sunday because we have another very special guest that's Harit coming in. Hoping to see you all this Sunday at 5 p.m. onwards. So we'll be starting the session from 5 p.m. If you're in Bangalore, do drop by okay. So yeah, thank you so much for coming. This is Faiz, your host for the day, and hoping to see you all in the next session. We have something for you. I would like to call upon Sambhav to present a small gift from 60 Ironman.
He has the same helmet. This one's for me. Much lighter than
Let's take a quick group picture and then you guys can do the numbers again. You can occupy your box.